Hey, look at me. I'm a horizontal retro handheld. I play horizontal games in a horizontal way. Okay, well, I'm a vertical handheld. I play vertical games better than that horizontal guy over there. You're not a vertical. You're a horizontal. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. You're a horizontal handheld pretending to be vertical. You're a poser. Lies. You're just rotated on your side. You're not fooling anyone. Well, maybe this is the correct orientation. Maybe you're the poser. Oh yeah? Why not come over here and say that to my face? What, you want to go? Yeah, I want to go. Well, let's go then. Let's see what you got, wimp. Okay, that's it. Gotcha. Huh. Mom, can you make me a grilled cheese sandwich? Thank you. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah. If your one wish in life was to get a handheld that can do it all, something that was great for horizontal games and great for vertical games, then I feel sorry for you. Like, you could have had any wish, anything you can dream up, but you still wish for some horizontal transforming into vertical handheld. That's a lame wish, man. Come on, you can do better than that. But if you can't do better than that, then I have news for you. Your wish has come true. You still gotta buy it, though. This is the MagicX One35, and at first glance, you might think, oh, that's a retro handheld, like the RG35XXH or the R36H or some other horizontal retro handheld that plays retro games while you hold it like this. Not that interesting, right? But look closer, and you'll see something pretty special. No, not that. That's just a subscribe sticker to remind people to subscribe. Not that you need reminding though. I'm sure you're smart enough to have subscribed already. No, I mean this. There is a second D-pad where the right stick should be. And that might make you think that maybe the people who made this were drunk when they designed it. And I can't guarantee that they weren't drunk when they made this, but here's the thing. That D-pad down there, it actually serves an important purpose. Because watch this. Womp. Yeah, that's right. This handheld is a horizontal handheld and a vertical handheld. You can play horizontal games in the normal way, or you can play vertical games in the not normal way. And not only vertical arcade games, you can also play DS games like this. And it has a few other tricks. The screen is 3:2 ratio, and it does pixel perfect GBA integer scaling, so it's great for GBA. And even though it looks like a cheap piece of plastic junk, Okay, that's not fair. It doesn't look that bad, but it doesn't look like high end. However, we actually have a ton of power in here. You can run Dreamcast and N64 and PSP with no problem, and you can even run a bit of 3DS and GameCube and PS2. I'm not kidding. I would never joke around on this channel. Isn't that right, boys? Oh, they're busy right now. Huh? Here's the specs on the screen. I'm not going to read them to you. I'm not your mother. But if I was your mother, I'd make you a grilled cheese sandwich that isn't burnt on one side. Unlike some mothers out there. The price of this bad boy is $85 plus $15 shipping for me here in Canada. So let's call it $100 for the base model. The version with a 128GB SD card is $120 after shipping. On the front, we have a left D-pad over here in the upper position and a menu button and a left stick in the lower position. There's a screen in the middle. Over here, we have some buttons and start and select and a right D-pad in the lower position. Up top, we have inline bumpers and triggers and a USB-C hole for charging and a sneaky R button that I'll show you later. Underneath, we have downward firing stereo speakers. Boo! And a headphone hole. Yay! And a sneaky hidden L button and a power button. On the left, we have volume up and down. On the right, we have an SD card hole, and there's a 128GB SD card in there, SanDisk brand, and it looks like we have an air vent hole around back too. There's quite a bit to talk about when it comes to how this thing looks and feels. For starters, it's very plain, both in how it looks and also the shape. I picked the gray version, and it looks alright. It's not as retro feeling as I'd hoped. It's more just gray. I'd probably get the black version if I was picking again. The shape is also pretty plain, and that's a good thing considering how you use this thing. More on that in a bit, but that also means that it doesn't feel interesting or even all that comfy in the hands. And it's a little cheap feeling. just a bit. Like it's fine, but it's not gonna wow you with the quality. Where it will wow you is how you use it. This thing's meant to be used horizontally and vertically. Horizontal games are great in the normal horizontal kind of way, but when you're playing a game with a vertical orientation, like a Tate Mode arcade game or a Nintendo DS game with stacked screens, you can turn the device on its side. And suddenly this D-pad makes sense. These side buttons up here become your bumper buttons, so you can play proper DS with all your controls and have 6 buttons for arcade games. Lots of handhelds can be turned on their side, but none of them do it like this, with an actual D-pad and shoulder buttons. And the software helps you with this too. It makes it seamless, and we'll come back to that. It's also probably great in the pocket. Let's actually check in with my temporary pocket test guy. That's me. I'm here and I'm ready to go, TechDweeb. The MagicX One35 in the pocket. And yeah, this thing is great. The lower profile controls and the slim profile means this is easy to slide in and out without getting stuck, and it's nice and small too. This is pretty darn easy to live with in the pocket. I'll give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. Okay, yeah, good job, thanks. You're welcome, TechDweeb. And did you... No, sorry. I know you want a full-time position, but I haven't had a chance to bring it up with the board of directors yet. Oh, yeah, okay. But, isn't the board of directors just you? Well, yeah, but I need to wait for the next board meeting. I can't just make decisions all willy-nilly, you know. Of course, no worries. Have a great day, TechDweeb. Bye, everybody. Poor guy. I just don't have the heart to tell him. Well. The controls are overall pretty good. The D-pad is great. It feels nice, no false diagonals, and I have no problems pulling off special moves in fighting games. The stick is good. It has good input quality, a little bit of cardinal snapping, but not much, and it is precise, and it's quite recessed, but it also has a great range of motion. This is a great stick cap too. This is my favorite style of stick cap shape. My biggest gripe is with these bumpers and triggers. They're a little bit clicky while the rest of the controls are quiet membrane, and they are inset from the edge of the device. Usually handhelds like this have bumpers that go around the edge of the doodad. These are actual buttons just on top. They're fine once you get used to them, but they do take some getting used to. When you turn the device, you'll be holding it like this, and the controls themselves are fine. However, this orientation is a tad on the awkward side to hold. At first, I hated it. It made a bad first impression, but the more I've used it, the more I don't mind the way it feels like this. I think it just has like a period of adjustment phase is all. The screen is actually a pretty big plus side for this thing. The actual quality of the screen itself is about average. It's an IPS LCD, not gonna blow you away. It gets pretty bright and pretty dim, but not super bright or super dim. It's fine for my needs in that regard, but yeah, it's just kind of average. However, this is a 3:2 ratio screen. That means it's gonna be great for Game Boy Advance, which is my favorite retro system to emulate, and the screen is 960 by 640 resolution, which gives us pixel perfect 4x GBA integer scaling. And that's a good high pixel density considering that it's only 3.5 inches. Lots of pixels to work with for scaling all the retro stuff and using shaders. This thing does have enough juice to run some more demanding shaders, by the way. But 3:2 is my favorite ratio, not just because of GBA, but for everything. 3:2 ratio is the perfect middle ground ratio. So the 4:3 stuff has minimal pillar boxing on the sides, and the 16:9 stuff has minimal letter boxing on the top and bottom. This screen alone is enough to elevate this thing way up for my needs, even beyond Tate games and DS games and GBA. Everything looks great on here. The sound is pretty good. It sounds like a retro handheld, maybe a little bit louder actually, which is good. The speakers are downward firing, which isn't ideal, but it's forgivable. However, the smarter amongst you will probably have noticed something up with these speakers. I noticed it too, because I'm smart. So let's explain it for the dumb people. These bottom speakers are now on the left when you rotate the device. So when you're in vertical mode, you get left-facing speakers. No speakers on the right. Like, come on, that's not cool. I can live with downward-facing speakers, but having both speakers on one side of the device, it sounds weird. It's not a terrible thing. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. The system that we have on here is Android 12, which is fine. Play Store certified, so you get all the Google stuff pre-installed. It comes with all the emulators pre-installed, and it's all set up for you. And it uses MagicX's special launcher called the Dawn Launcher, which is basically Daigisho, but more customized for this actual device. For example, in the Dawn Launcher, you can launch your games and they load up the normal way. And you'll see I was taken right into the game that I had on the go from earlier. That's because you can enable the autosave and auto load in the Dawn Launcher settings. However, if you load up a vertical arcade game, it loads like this in horizontal mode. That's not good. So for your vertical games, you can press the Y button to open the game's options, and then in here you can pick which orientation the game loads in. If you pick vertical, the device will automatically rotate the screen and pick the correct bindings for the right D-pad and the buttons and triggers and stuff. And DS too. DS will load with the screen stacked and everything's all set up with great presets. It's honestly a great system out of the box. That said, because they've done all this work, it would be hard to install your own front end and redo your emulator settings and stuff. Other front ends don't let you choose the screen orientation, for instance, as well. So that means you're kind of stuck with the stock system. That's fine. It works. I don't have a big problem with it, but the ESDE stan within me wishes that there was an easy way to get my own front end going. Ah, well. When it comes to gaming, the older stuff is no problem at all. Everything works great, obviously. The 4x3 stuff runs nice and big on the screen with minimal bars on the sides. GBA obviously is incredible. I love playing GBA on this thing. Yeah, it's all pretty plug and play, except for the vertical stuff. You'll just need to toggle that vertical mode option for the vertical games. And that Tate mode stuff is honestly great. Once you get a feeling for holding this thing in that side configuration, you'll quickly realize how awesome it is for Tate games. MagicX's other vertical screen handheld, the 040, that was a great Tate arcade device too. However, that thing isn't pocketable at all, and that thing isn't good for other stuff. Did you see PSP on that thing? Worthless. This doodad does horizontal games great and vertical games great. They had to break some serious conventions to pull this off. This thing is weird and pretty ugly, but the credit where credit's due. It works. They did it. They actually did it.
You did. You crazy son of a bitch, you did.
Nintendo DS is, it's fine. It's less good, but it's not bad. I enjoy playing lots of games. They look good on the screen, and you can use the device in vertical mode and get the shoulder buttons, which makes these actually playable. For controller-focused games, this thing works a treat. However, the one problem with DS is that so many of the games needed touchscreen, and you can use a stylus with this, but it's not comfy to hold one-handed while you have a stylus in your other hand. The 040 is more comfortable than this if you're playing those kind of games. Some games are great without a stylus though, or the games you can play one-handed with just a stylus. Those are fine, so that stuff is probably what I'll be sticking with on here. Performance-wise, this thing can do a ton of stuff. We're working with the MediaTek Helio G85 and 4 gigabytes of RAM, which has some impressive performance, especially considering the small candy bar form factor. This blows away doodads like the Zazbitty in terms of what it can play. Obviously, you're going to get all the PS1 games. Good to go there. But you'll also get higher-end stuff like Dreamcast and N64. That was great. Everything I tried for the Nintendo 64 worked perfectly. And Dreamcast was great. Dead or Alive 2, that came on the device, and that was running flawlessly, which is not an easy game to run. And that was using the RetroArch core, which isn't nearly as good as standalone emulators. I doubt you'll find many Dreamcast games that don't work perfectly. PSP was an especially lovely treat. When I got this, I was not expecting to love PSP on it, but I do. PSP's awesome on here. The performance was perfect. I was running God of War at 2x resolution at 60 FPS with no hacky stuff, and it worked great. So all PSP games are going to run no problem. And PSP in general is so lovely to play on here because of that 3:2 ratio screen. Usually these pocket-friendly devices have 4:3 screens, which makes PSP pretty small. It wasn't small on here. It was big and lovely. I think if you want a truly pocketable device that can do great PSP without compromises, this is the best choice I've seen for that. We actually do get 3DS on here, but it's not set up out of the box to use the screens vertically, and you can do that yourself, but also 3DS games would be pretty small if you did that. So I personally just play like this, the default horizontal way. You're not going to play every 3DS game on here. Some stuff doesn't have great performance, but a good amount works fine at 1x resolution. Same thing for GameCube and PS2. You can play some stuff. The card comes with stuff on it, and most stuff worked okay, but not everything. I had some GameCube games crashing, and some PS2 games were pretty choppy, but lots actually was working well, both GameCube and PS2. However, I suspect that they put on just the games that actually had a hope of playing well. Consider this a bonus, worth tinkering with if you have this, but don't buy this to play GameCube and PS2 or you'll probably be disappointed. I feel like by this point in the video, you know if this thing's for you. It's sort of like the best jack of all trades device because it does so much. Horizontal or vertical games, no problem. Tons of performance for high-end stuff like PS1 and Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast, PSP, a bit of GameCube and PS2 and 3DS on a $100 device. That's pretty appealing, I think. But at the same time, it's not cool looking. You're not going to impress people by whipping this out. It's weird. It's a bit janky in many ways. So this feels like the kind of thing that only a true retro handheld lover would be into. Not necessarily something that's a one-size-fits-all thing. You need to do a bit of tinkering to get the most out of it, and some stuff will end up feeling compromised compared to a more dedicated device for those things. I think it's fun as heck if you're into that, but you need to be into that. If not, if you're just here to get a thing that just works and you don't need gimmicks, there's probably better choices for you. But that's how it is, right? Not every doodad is for every dweeb, as they say. So get this if you like the look of it, or don't if you don't. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. I'm only here to say, that's it from me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.